President Donald Trump's pick to permanently lead the Department of Justice is facing intense criticism after survivors connected to Jeffrey Epstein described their long-awaited meeting with him as demoralizing. Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche met with several survivors this week. As per Daily Beast, the meeting occurred only after Republican Senator Tom Tillis reportedly made it clear that the meeting was a condition for securing his vote during Blanche's Senate confirmation process. According to survivor Danny Bensky, Blanche had ignored survivors for the past 8 months, but quickly agreed to meet once his confirmation was at stake. However, instead of providing answers, survivors say they left the room feeling even more frustrated. Speaking to MSNBC's The Weeknight, survivor Liz Stein said, quote, "The meeting had absolutely nothing to do with us and everything to do with Todd Blanche checking a box so he could get a promotion." Stein added that while survivors had gone into the meeting with very low expectations, they never expected to walk away feeling, quote, demoralized. She said Blanche repeatedly avoided direct questions, offered no transparent answers, and made no concrete commitments about following up on investigative leads. According to Stein, he also failed to provide clear explanations regarding Ghislaine Maxwell's prison transfer or address concerns over heavily redacted documents tied to the case. Maxwell, who is serving a 20-year prison sentence, was transferred last year from a low-security prison in Florida to a minimum-security federal prison camp in Texas, a move that has continued to draw scrutiny. Stein also revealed that Blanche suggested survivors should continue speaking with the FBI before he would meet with them again. Her response was blunt. She said, quote, "We've already been working with the FBI for the past 30 years. Stein accused the Justice Department of treating survivors like political pawns rather than victims deserving answers. She went on to say, quote, "We're victims of trafficking, and the fact that our Department of Justice will not take that seriously should concern every American." And this comes as the Trump administration continues to face mounting criticism over its handling of the Epstein files, while Vice President J.D. Vance has also landed in the spotlight after making fresh admissions about the case during a recent podcast interview. Here's what Vance said and why those remarks are now fueling even more controversy. In a rare admission that's turning heads across Washington, U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance has acknowledged that the Trump administration mishandled the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. Speaking during a lengthy appearance on the Joe Rogan Experience, Vance admitted the administration made mistakes, not necessarily with the investigation itself, but with how it communicated and released the documents to the public. The comments come after weeks of backlash over redactions, confusion surrounding victim identities, and renewed conspiracy theories about Epstein's powerful associates. Here's everything Vance said and why his remarks are making headlines. During the interview with Joe Rogan, Vance was asked directly about the controversy surrounding the Epstein files. Instead of defending every aspect of the administration's handling, the Vice President of the United States offered a surprisingly candid response. "If people want to say we mishandled the Epstein release, guilty," Vance admitted. "We did mishandle it, especially the communications of it," he added. Vance explained that, in hindsight, the administration should have released the material much sooner. According to Trump's VP, officials needed time to review thousands of pages of records, identify victims, and make legally required redactions. But he believes the overall process took too long. "I think we should have just dropped everything at the very beginning," Vance said. He acknowledged that while reviewing sensitive documents inevitably takes time, the public should have received information far earlier than it did. Joe Rogan then raised one of the biggest criticisms surrounding the Epstein files, the redactions. Many critics argued that the document release appeared inconsistent. Some alleged victims' names became public, while certain names believed to belong to alleged associates or co-conspirators remained blacked out. The decision triggered outrage across social media. Vance attempted to explain why those decisions may have been more complicated than they appeared. According to him, investigators sometimes face difficulty distinguishing between victim and co-conspirator. "I've looked into this," Vance explained. "My understanding is that it is sometimes hard to draw a distinction between victim and co-conspirator." He suggested that some individuals who were originally exploited by Epstein may later have helped recruit additional victims. Because of that complexity, the Department of Justice attempted to balance transparency with protecting victims. "What DOJ tried to do," Vance said, "is make that judgment as best they could and release as much as possible." Perhaps the most striking moment of the interview came when Vance discussed conspiracy theories surrounding Epstein. The vice president admitted he personally believes there is still a larger, unanswered story. "I would go to my deathbed believing there is a story there," Vance told Rogan. However, he was equally clear about one important point. He said he has not seen evidence proving any broader conspiracy, and "I promise you there's not some document, at least that I'm hiding, that allows us to prove exactly what was going on." His comments appear to acknowledge widespread public suspicion while also pushing back against claims that the administration is secretly withholding definitive proof. Vance has publicly discussed the Epstein case before. During a June appearance on The View, he admitted he had long been fascinated by the unanswered questions surrounding Epstein. "I was frankly kind of a conspiracy theorist on the Epstein stuff," Vance admitted. He said he found it deeply troubling that Epstein, a convicted sex offender, maintained relationships with numerous wealthy and influential figures. Still, Vance cautioned against jumping to conclusions. While he said many questions remain unanswered, he acknowledged that nobody can know exactly what happened without concrete evidence. At that time, he also emphasized that he supported complete transparency regarding the Epstein files. Vance offered insight into U.S. President Donald Trump's thinking throughout the controversy. According to the vice president, Trump became increasingly frustrated as Democrats and critics continued suggesting he had something to hide regarding Epstein. Vance claimed Trump ultimately decided that making more information public was the best approach. Vance even claimed Trump personally called senators and encouraged them to move legislation forward, promising he would sign it. Jeffrey Epstein's death in federal custody in 2019 has remained one of the most controversial criminal cases in modern American history. For years, critics from across the political spectrum have demanded full disclosure of records connected to Epstein's network. Questions continue to surround which powerful individuals associated with him, whether additional crimes were overlooked, and whether every relevant document has been released. Those unanswered questions have fueled countless online theories, political debates, and calls for greater government transparency. Throughout the interview, J.D. Vance appeared to strike a careful balance. On one hand, he openly admitted the administration mishandled the rollout. On the other, he defended the difficult decisions prosecutors faced while reviewing sensitive evidence involving victims. He also acknowledged widespread public suspicion without claiming to possess evidence that would support many of the more explosive conspiracy theories circulating online. That combination of admissions and caution has quickly become one of the most talked about moments from his appearance with Joe Rogan. Whether Vance's remarks calm public concerns or simply fuel fresh debate remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: it's rare for a sitting vice president to publicly admit that his own administration mishandled one of its most politically sensitive document releases. And with the Epstein case continuing to dominate headlines, Vance's comments are unlikely to be the final word.